The 911 call came at 6:47 a.m. A woman's voice, shaking, barely holding together. "My sister, she's not breathing. Please, she's cold." The dispatcher asked her to check for a pulse. Silence. Then, there's blood. "Oh, God, there's so much blood." By the time paramedics arrived at the small house on Maple Street, Rachel Bennett had turned cold. She was 34 years old, a kindergarten teacher, loved by everyone who knew her. She was found in the guest bedroom, fully dressed, lying on top of the covers. Her throat had been cut, but here's what didn't make sense. There was no sign of forced entry, no robbery, nothing missing. The front door was locked from the inside. Whoever killed Rachel Bennett had been let in, or was already inside. Detective Sarah Cross arrived at the scene just after 8 a.m. She'd worked homicide for 12 years. She'd seen everything, but something about this one felt different. Too quiet, too clean. The house belonged to Rachel's older sister, Jennifer. Jennifer was the one who made the call. She lived there with her 13-year-old son, Ethan. Rachel had been staying with them for the past 2 weeks. She'd just gone through a divorce. Needed space. Needed family. Now she was dead. Detective Cross found Jennifer sitting in the kitchen, staring at nothing. Her hands were shaking. "When did you last see her?" Cross asked gently. Jennifer blinked, like she'd forgotten someone was there. "Last night, around 10, she said goodnight. She was tired. And this morning, I woke up early. I always do. I went to check on her. She wasn't in bed. I thought maybe she couldn't sleep. Then I found her in the guest room." Jennifer's voice cracked. Why was she in there? She was supposed to be in my room. We were sharing the bed. She hated being alone after the divorce. Cross wrote that down. "Where's your son?" "Ethan? He's upstairs, in his room. He didn't hear anything. He sleeps like the dead." Cross paused. "I'll need to talk to him." Jennifer's face tightened. "He's just a kid. He loved Rachel. She was his favorite aunt." "I understand, but he lives here. He might have heard something." Jennifer didn't answer. She just stared at her hands. Ethan's room was at the end of the hall. Small, clean, posters of video games on the walls. A desk covered in school notebooks. He was sitting on the edge of his bed when Cross knocked. "Ethan? I'm Detective Cross. Can I ask you a few questions?" He looked up, pale, thin, dark circles under his eyes. "Okay." He didn't cry, didn't ask what happened, just waited. Cross sat down in a chair by his desk. "Did you hear anything last night? Anything unusual?" He shook his head. "I went to bed early, around 9. I had a test today." "You didn't hear your aunt moving around?" "No." "You didn't hear your mom get up?" "No." His answers were short, flat, like he was reading from a script. Cross studied him. Something felt off, but she couldn't place it. "Did your aunt seem upset yesterday? Worried about anything?" Ethan shrugged. "She seemed fine. We watched TV together. She made popcorn." "What did you watch?" "Some cooking show. I don't remember." Cross nodded. "Okay, thank you, Ethan. If you think of anything, let me know." He didn't respond, just stared at the floor. By noon, the forensic team had finished processing the scene. No fingerprints, no weapon, no defensive wounds on Rachel's body. The cut was clean, precise, done with something very sharp. The medical examiner estimated time of death between midnight and 2 a.m. But here's what bothered Cross. Rachel's phone was on a nightstand, fully charged. The last text she sent was at 11:43 p.m. to Jennifer. "Can't sleep? Go to stay in the guest room tonight. Don't want to wake you." Jennifer had replied, "Okay, love you." That was it. Rachel walked into the guest room, closed the door, and never walked out. Cross went back to the kitchen. Jennifer was still sitting there, hadn't moved. Did Rachel lock the guest room door? Cross asked. Jennifer looked up. "I don't know. Maybe. Was it locked when you found her?" "No, it was open." Cross frowned. "Did anyone else have access to this house last night?" "No. Just me and Ethan. No one came by? No visitors? No. And Ethan was in his room all night? Jennifer's jaw tightened. Yes, he was asleep. You're sure? I'm his mother. I would know. Cross didn't push. Not yet. The autopsy came back 3 days later. Rachel Bennett died from a single cut to the throat. The blade had severed her carotid artery. She would have bled out in less than a minute. But there was something else. Trace evidence under her fingernails. Skin cells. DNA. They ran it through the database. No match. So they ran it against familial DNA. Just in case. And that's when everything changed. The DNA belonged to someone in the house. Someone who lived there. Someone Rachel trusted. Cross stared at the report. Her stomach dropped. The DNA matched Ethan Bennett, Jennifer's 13-year-old son. Cross drove back to the house that same afternoon. She didn't call ahead, didn't give them time to prepare. Jennifer answered the door. She looked worse. Thinner, like she hadn't eaten in days. Detective, did you find something? Cross didn't smile. Can I come in? They sat in the living room. Ethan wasn't home. He was at school. Cross pulled out the report, slid it across the table. We found DNA under Rachel's fingernails. Jennifer looked at the paper. Her hands started shaking. It belongs to Ethan. Jennifer didn't speak, didn't move. Jennifer, I need you to listen to me carefully. This doesn't mean. No. Jennifer's voice was barely a whisper. No, that's not possible. The DNA is a match. We ran it twice. He's 13 years old. He wouldn't. He couldn't. Cross leaned forward. I need to talk to him. Today. Jennifer stood up. Her face was pale, bloodless. Get out. Jennifer, get out of my house. Cross didn't move. If you don't let me talk to him, I'll come back with a warrant, and I'll take him in for questioning. Is that what you want? Jennifer's legs buckled. She sat back down. And for the first time since Rachel died, she started to cry. Not softly, not quietly, like something inside her had finally broken. Ethan came home an hour later. Jennifer was waiting for him. So was Cross. He froze when he saw the detective. Ethan, Jennifer said. Her voice was raw. Hello. She needs to ask you some questions. He didn't sit down, just stood there, staring. Cross kept her voice calm. Steady. Ethan, we found your DNA under your aunt's fingernails. Can you explain that? He blinked. I don't know what you mean. Did you touch her that night? Did you go into the guest room? No. Did you two argue? Did something happen? No. I told you. I was asleep. Then how did your skin cells end up under her nails? Silence. Jennifer was shaking. Ethan, just tell her the truth. Whatever it is, just tell her. He looked at his mother, and for the first time his face changed. Not scared, not sad, something else, something cold. I don't know, he said quietly. Maybe she scratched me earlier, when we were watching TV. Cross didn't blink. She scratched you? Yeah, by accident. She was reaching for the remote. Where did she scratch you? He held up his arm, showed her his forearm. There was a faint red line, barely visible, almost healed. That's from 3 days ago, Cross said flatly. I heal slow. Jennifer's breath caught. Ethan, I didn't do anything, he said. His voice was louder now, sharper. I didn't touch her. I loved Aunt Rachel. Why would I hurt her? Cross stood up. We're going to need you to come down to the station. Answer some more questions. Am I under arrest? Not yet. Ethan looked at his mother, and Jennifer realized something she'd been avoiding for days. She didn't recognize the look in his eyes. She didn't recognize her son at all. They brought Ethan in the next morning. Jennifer sat beside him, silent, her hands folded in her lap like she was praying. Detective Cross sat across from them, calm, patient, but her eyes never left Ethan's face. Ethan, I want to be very clear with you. You're not under arrest, but we need the truth. We need to understand what happened that night. He didn't answer, just stared at the table. You said your aunt scratched you by accident 3 days before she died. Yeah, but her DNA wasn't under your nails. Only yours was under hers. Silence. That means she scratched you the night she died, not 3 days earlier. Ethan's jaw tightened. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Or maybe you're lying. Jennifer flinched. Detective? Jennifer, please, let him answer. Cross leaned forward. Ethan, did you go into that guest room? No. Did you see your aunt that night? After your mom went to bed? No. Then how did your DNA get under her nails? He didn't answer. Cross pulled out a photo, slid across the table. It was a picture of Rachel's body, the wound on her throat. Jennifer gasped, turned her head away, but Ethan didn't flinch. He just looked at it, studied it, like he was looking at homework. This wasn't random, Cross said quietly. Whoever did this knew her, knew the house, knew she'd be alone. Ethan finally looked up. Are you saying I did this? I'm saying the evidence points to you. I'm 13. I know. You think a 13-year-old could do that? Cross didn't blink. Yes, I do. Jennifer stood up. That's enough. We're leaving. Sit down, Jennifer. You're accusing my son of murder. I'm following the evidence. He's a child. Cross's voice hardened. Children can kill too. The room went silent. Jennifer sat back down. Her hands were shaking so badly she had to clasp them together. Cross turned back to Ethan. I'm going to ask you one more time. Did you go into that room? Ethan stared at her, and for just a second, something flickered in his eyes. Not fear, not guilt, something darker. No, he said, I didn't. They let him go. There wasn't enough to charge him. Not yet. Just DNA that could be explained away. Maybe, but Cross wasn't done. She went back to the house, searched Ethan's room. This time with a warrant. She found his laptop, his phone, his school notebooks, and buried in the back of his closet, underneath a pile of old clothes, she found something else. A journal. The first few pages were normal. School stuff, complaints about homework, drawings of video game characters. But then the tone shifted. Mom doesn't listen. She never listens. She thinks I'm still a baby. Aunt Rachel came over again. She acts like she knows me. She doesn't. I'm tired of people pretending. Everyone pretends. And then, 3 days before Rachel died, she's staying here now, in our house. I can hear her at night, talking to Mom, talking about Dad, like she has any right. She thinks she can fix everything. She can't. She thinks I'm just a kid. And then, the night of the murder, it's done. 2 words. That's all. Cross stared at the page. Her hands were shaking. She brought Jennifer back in. Alone this time. I need to show you something. She placed a journal on the table. Jennifer looked at it. Her face went white. Where did you find this? In Ethan's closet. You went through his things? Read it, Jennifer. Jennifer opened the journal, slowly, like she was afraid of what she'd find. She read the first page, then the second, then the third. Her hand started trembling. This doesn't mean anything, she whispered. It's a confession. It's a kid being angry. That's all. Jennifer, he didn't do this. Her voice cracked. He's my son. I would know. I would feel it. Cross leaned forward. Would you? Jennifer stared at her, eyes red. Hollow, what are you asking me? I'm asking if you've ever been afraid of him. The question hung in the air. Jennifer didn't answer, but her silence said everything. Cross kept digging. She interviewed Ethan's teachers, his classmates, his friends. Most of them said the same thing. Quiet kid, smart, kept to himself. But one teacher said something different. Mrs. Holloway, his English teacher. Ethan's unusual, she said carefully. Unusual how? He wrote an essay last month about violence. It was supposed to be fictional, but it felt personal. Do you still have it? She did. Cross read it that night. The essay was about a boy who kills his family, not out of anger, not out of revenge, just because he wanted to see what it felt like. The last line made Cross's stomach turn. He didn't feel guilty. He felt free. The next day, Cross got a call from the medical examiner. I found something. What? There were fibers in Rachel's wound. Fabric. We just identified them. And they match a hoodie we found in Ethan's room. Cross closed her eyes. Are you sure? Positive. She went back to the house one last time. Jennifer answered the door. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Where's Ethan? Cross asked. School. I need to talk to you. Now. They sat in the kitchen, the same place they'd sat a dozen times before. Cross pulled out the forensic report, slid it across the table. We found fabric fibers in Rachel's wound. They match a hoodie in Ethan's closet. Jennifer stared at the report. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. We also found the journal, the essay, the DNA. Jennifer, it's not a coincidence. Jennifer's hands started shaking. He's my son. I know. He's my baby. I know. He wouldn't. He did. Jennifer's face crumpled. She buried her face in her hands. And for the first time, she stopped fighting. I think I knew, she whispered. Cross went still. What? I think I knew. From the beginning. I couldn't say it. I couldn't even think it. Why? Jennifer looked up, tears streaming down her face. Because if I said it out loud, it would be real. And I'd have to choose. Choose what? Between my son and the truth. Cross's throat tightened. Jennifer, he killed her, didn't he? The words hung in the air. Jennifer's voice was barely a whisper. My son killed my sister. They arrested Ethan the next morning. He didn't run, didn't resist, just stood there while they read him his rights. Jennifer watched from the doorway, silent, broken. Ethan looked at her once, just once, and she saw it, the emptiness, the thing she'd been pretending wasn't there. The trial took 6 months. The evidence was overwhelming. The DNA, the fibers, the journal, the essay, but the defense argued something different. They said Ethan was a child, a traumatized child. His father had left. His aunt had intruded. He'd snapped. It wasn't murder. It was a tragic accident. The prosecution disagreed. They showed the jury the journal, the essay, the 911 call. They showed them how calculated it was. How clean. How cold. This wasn't a child having a breakdown, the prosecutor said. This was a child who knew exactly what he was doing. And then they called Jennifer to stand. She looked smaller now, thinner, like grief had hollowed her out. The prosecutor asked her the same question Cross had asked months earlier. Were you ever afraid of your son? Jennifer's hands trembled. I don't know. You don't know if you were afraid? I don't know what I felt anymore. Did Ethan ever hurt anyone before? Silence. Mrs. Bennett, please answer the question. Jennifer closed her eyes. When he was 10, we had a dog, a golden retriever. Ethan loved that dog. What happened to it? It died. How? Jennifer's voice broke. It fell down the stairs, broke its neck. Did anyone see it happen? No, just Ethan. The courtroom went silent. Did you believe him? Jennifer looked at her son. He was staring at her, not angry, not sad, just watching. I wanted to, she whispered. The jury deliberated for 3 days. On the third day, they came back. Guilty. Ethan showed no reaction, just sat there, staring straight ahead. Jennifer collapsed. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Because Ethan was 13, he couldn't be tried as an adult. But the judge didn't go easy. This court has reviewed the evidence, the psychological evaluations, the testimony, and I am left with one inescapable conclusion. The judge looked at Ethan. You knew what you were doing. You planned it. You executed it. And you showed no remorse. Ethan didn't blink. I am sentencing you to juvenile detention until the age of 21. At that time, your case will be reviewed. But make no mistake, you took a life. And that has consequences. The courtroom emptied slowly. Jennifer stayed in her seat, staring at nothing. Detective Cross sat down beside her. "I'm sorry," Cross said quietly. Jennifer didn't respond. "If you need anything..." "Why?" Jennifer's voice was hollow. Why did he do it? Cross didn't have an answer. Because the truth was, even after everything, they still didn't know. The journal didn't explain it. The essay didn't explain it. Ethan had never given a reason. Maybe there wasn't one. Maybe some people are just born with something missing. Jennifer visited him once. 3 months after sentencing. They sat across from each other in a cold room with concrete walls. She didn't know what to say, so she just looked at him. "Do you hate me?" she asked finally. Ethan tilted his head. "No." "Then why?" He didn't answer. "Ethan, please, I need to understand." He stared at her for a long time. Then he said very quietly, "She was crying. That night, in the guest room, I heard her through the wall." Jennifer's breath caught. I knocked, asked if she was okay. She said she was fine, but she wasn't. She was crying about Dad, about you, about everything. Jennifer felt tears stinging her eyes. She asked me if I was okay, if I was handling everything, the divorce, the move. Ethan's voice didn't change, didn't crack. I told her I was fine. And then she hugged me. Jennifer's chest tightened, and I realized something. "What?" Ethan looked at her, his eyes empty. I didn't feel anything. Jennifer never visited again. She moved out of the house 6 months later. Couldn't stay there. Couldn't sleep in the same hallway. She got a small apartment across town. Sold everything. Started over. But she never stopped thinking about that night. She never stopped wondering if she could have seen it, if she could have stopped it, if she could have saved Rachel, or saved her son. Detective Cross retired 2 years later. She'd worked hundreds of cases, solved most of them, but this one stayed with her. Not because it was complicated, because it was simple. A boy killed his aunt. Not for money, not for revenge, just because something inside him was broken, and no one had noticed. Not his teachers, not his friends, not even his mother. On the 5th anniversary of Rachel's death, Jennifer went to the cemetery. She brought flowers, white roses, Rachel's favorite. She knelt beside the grave, stared at the headstone. Rachel in Bennett 1989, the 2023 beloved sister, aunt, friend. Jennifer's hand shook as she placed the flowers down. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." She stayed there for an hour, and when she finally stood to leave, she noticed something. A second bouquet. Fresh, white roses. No card, no name, just flowers. Jennifer's stomach dropped. She looked around. The cemetery was empty, but someone had been there. Recently, she picked up the bouquet, turned it over in her hands, and then she saw it, tucked into the stems. A small piece of paper, folded once. Her hands trembled as she opened it. 2 words, written in handwriting she recognized. "I'm sorry." Jennifer's knees buckled. She looked back at the grave, and for the first time in 5 years, she let herself cry, not for Rachel, for the son she'd lost long before he was taken away. He never explained why he left the flowers, and she never asked. We've come to the end of today's video. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want more stories like this, please be sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It really helps me out a lot. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.